is Maldron, the assassin. I'm a character that was, at least voice-wise, created by Tam, but I am a character from Dark Souls 2. You may know me as. This is kind of a voice that Tam came up with, and thought it would be fun since I haven't had a Maldron video in a bit. But this is not why we are here. We are here to challenge Synthetic Man. Synthetic Man, I'm watching. No, but seriously, I have actually really loved Synthetic Man's videos and agreed with a lot of the points. I want to make that clear. I've watched his Game Awards and his E3 video multiple times. I've even shown his Game Awards video to a friend of mine, and they loved the points too that were made. He is one of my favorite YouTubers. I have looked forward to his stuff. He may not be my definitive favorite of all time. I have a lot of other YouTubers I really like. I love following Actman. I love following the Aussie Gamer, even though he hasn't been on his goddamn channel in a bit. I love Radical Soda. I love a lot of those YouTubers. I love Angry Joe, even though he's got some stingy or stupid things to say once in a while. But his reviews are pretty solid for the most part. I'll talk to her later. Let's make it daytime. Make it a lot prettier. So, and there are, but I wanted to tackle his Elden Ring videos specifically because I felt it was the most divisive of his videos for me personally, at least. And it would be interesting to add my own feedback, my own hopefully intriguing things to say to his video subjects, as well as things I agree or disagree with. Hello, it's Bach.
Master.
So,
do you remember me?
So I want to add a lot of helpful things. I have some things I do agree with him in those videos, and things I don't agree, even after his hour-long video or follow-up video where he did correct himself. I feel like, too, the message comes out kind of objective, but also hurts a little bit for some people, because not only do you have the type of titles that you do for the videos, such as It's Not a Masterpiece, or Stop Being Blind to whatever, and there's something to Masterpiece itself, because I feel like Masterpiece can be defined in different ways. Even though you did show the definitions, I feel like it is how people take it and how it is received, and there are different motivations even to that, and how it is perceived, why it would be a masterpiece. I feel like a masterpiece also needs time, as I do not think games like Resident Evil 4 or Final Fantasy 7 were masterpieces day one. They took time, and I think Elden Ring also needs that. But it is also a creator perspective, as the creator may look at it as a masterpiece, as this is what everything has been building to, from learning from both his mistakes, but also creating new ones, or maybe same ones from previous games. And you do talk highly about the level design and the gimmick block fights of Dark Souls in your video, and I both agree with those, but also don't agree, because I think some gimmick fights are interesting, while others have become the absolute worst, such as Dragon God or Bed of Chaos, or almost any boss in Dark Souls 2.
Back to learn another. Wonderful.
And then, when it comes to it, I feel that Dark Souls, it is very likely for Dark Souls to have less problems compared to Elden Ring, being that it is a bigger game and it's bound to have more problems. But when it comes to it, I feel that the problems more have to do with, well, take for example the entirety of Lost Izalith. Screw that location. That location is the definition of a lot of the problems you had. I agree that there are a lot of recycled bosses and enemies, but at the same time, it's nothing new and we haven't seen before. Same with the performance issues. I definitely understand that. And graphics, but graphics aren't everything. Gameplay is king, and even you have said this in your previous videos, yet you somehow let it hinder your judgment of the game. Not entirely. I'm not saying that that's 100%, and you do talk about the gameplay positively, but also have some gripes there too. You consider it Dark Souls 3.5. I don't agree with that notion. That's a very lowly, even childish way of looking at it. You want to shoot your magic at me? Or actually hexes. Okay, who did that one? But anyways, that is just one of the... I do agree with it. One thing I have to say is that when it comes to the engine of their Souls-like games, they have been using... Wait a minute, did I? Get back up. So, I agree with that because it could eventually lead up to what Bethesda had a problem with, what Angry Joe has made a remark about with Fallout 4, where if they use the engine again, the next game might possibly suffer greatly from the engine. And guess what the next game was? Fallout 76. And while there are performance issues, and honestly it's not a new thing for a lot of Souls games on PC, I understand the problem. But at least it's nothing like Cyberpunk or Fallout 76. So when you say modern game, first off, yes, it is a modern game because it's a game made in the modern day. Duh. But also, I get what you're trying to say in the similar vein that Actman is talking about modern games. But I don't even agree with that because I feel like the way people have taken Elden Ring and looked at it, as well as the way it's affected people and how people look at it, this also plays into the whole masterpiece aspect, that a lot of people find it a masterpiece in the same vein of rekindling their love for gaming in the same way maybe Zelda does for, like, Radical Soda, if you've ever seen him. He's radical, by the way. Kind of obvious by the name. But yeah, there's just a lot of interesting aspects. I also think, I have to touch on the open world part, but that'll be in a bit, because you had some things to say about that. I think a video that there's actually 2 videos I can point to, 3, that I can point to, that would do my job for me in this video alone. And I 100% recommend Synthetic Man's videos, both his Elden Ring, as they are still entertaining and I do like the points that are added. But when it comes to some of the gripes he had, I don't entirely agree with them, and there's videos that actually touch on those gripes, as not only are they gripes that sound like somebody like Quantum TV has sadly made, not as stupid, I'm not saying they're as stupid, but they are close. And there is a Asmongold reacting to Actman's video on the multiple problems that you have also shared in your video, whether it be with the graphics. The graphics is more of a stylistic choice, as I feel like the quote that Stanley Kubrick made in the epic rap battle, you probably don't see those, but where he says every single frame of painting exactly how I want to make it. That's how I feel like this game is kind of portrayed. It's very much in the same vein. Okay, attack on me, why not? Jerks. Ooh, you are. Ow. Realize. But, when it comes to it, man, I'm getting a sore throat or something. Losing my goddamn voice. You assholes. Maybe I should just run away from these guys in this situation that may be He's too tough for even Maldron. And the game gives you plenty of different ways and variety to both this world and such, to how you can play. I think there is enough new going on here. Ooh, that guy. As well as old. I already touched. Yeah, it looks like I have. That I feel like there's enough going on here to consider itself. More, if you had a joking complaint about it, I would honestly think the actual thing you would call, and is ironically some, oh no, please don't be those, oh okay, thank goodness. Those centipede things with the droopy looking face, like my worst nightmare in this game. I hate those things. But in a good way, because they scare me. Mommy. Anyways, I find a lot of good of the Souls games. Honestly, that Asmongold reacting to Actman's video could do a lot of the talking for me, but I feel like there are still things I have to add that may or may not be beneficial to the conversation. I'm sorry if I repeat myself, too. But, so the graphics is more of a, whether it be the engine, I agree with the engine on the side of, I don't think it'll be a problem years down, but it will probably eventually be a problem. So I'm not disagreeing entirely with that. But the next thing I have to bring out is it is more the stylistic choice, and it is obviously definitely a much nicer game than the previous games. I do think it really looks nice. Even Actman brings this out and uses it as a running joke in his video. And while some textures in some places don't always work, it is still a very well-crafted game and has a lot of detail. The open world aspect is more on the side of, yes, it's going to be empty. I mean, in real life, though this isn't real life, yeah, there's going to be empty areas, and Hidetaka did want that feeling even in his Dark Souls games, but couldn't completely get it, as it was more linear and had to have obstacles for you to overcome. It still wanted to accomplish a atmosphere or a feeling of being alone, and I feel this does a good balancing job of that. But it is also called a open world. Yes, you are going to have a lot of empty areas. And it is not even close to some of the worst open worlds we have seen. Even the enemy variety and the open world itself still isn't the worst compared to the open worlds we have seen and the trends they have pulled. I'm surprised with the many games, probably Ubisoft games you have played, that you don't somewhat like this game. I feel like you have been soured, and you can tell that you are trying, not even mentioning it, that you don't want to say negative things about the game, calling it an excellent disappointment and having to make that clear, but at the same time it feels like that is what you're trying to get across, that it's more negative. And I don't think when you say disappointing, that something disappointing is necessarily a good thing, because that word already gives you the feeling of something bad. I don't think there should be such thing as excellent disappointment. That just doesn't feel like a thing. That just feels kind of gimmicky in itself. It's just dumb. But I feel that there's enough here new going on to satisfy anybody, and it is probably somewhat the easiest game, but Hidetaka has also said that other than stuff like putting barriers or having your little compass thing here and your tutorial, even though it's somewhat hidden in a hole, because Hidetaka likes to be an asshole, and I don't think characters like Patches or the Moonlight Blade are a problem added to the game. I also discover a lot of things, like Hidetaka likes to harness back to a lot of the feeling of older games like Castlevania and such, and the challenge and actual sense of accomplishment of older games. And if he likes something, usually he does bring it into his other games, but I don't always find that a positive thing. Let's see if we can take this thing on. got quite a lot. Missed, dumbass. Frick. But I think there are. Oh, I didn't rest at the. Okay. Man, this area is high level for me. Man. Oh, never mind. Deceivingly fast. Missed. You're way over there anyways. But I think there's a lot of good to this game, whether it be its animations. The anime fighting thing, while I do agree that is somewhat overused, I think that's also kind of a childish thing to complain about too. Even though you don't make it too big a deal, it is kind of dumb. And we already had our dark fantasy games. Why can't we have, and it's obviously a Japanese developers, a anime feeling kind of medieval fantasy world? So I don't mind it. It comes with a lot of cool like move sets and animations that the bosses do, and it has given us some of the best bosses, from Orphan of Cause to Lady Maria to various others. So I don't think it is entirely a bad thing, while I do agree when it comes to it being more repetitive or overly used. I don't think it is something that entirely needs that kind of complaining, and it feels somewhat childish. When it comes to the open world, it also, I have to add, another thing people love about even empty-ish, like, open worlds. Like, take Red Dead. Well, that game definitely has not much enemy variety and such, and has outdated, as Nakey Jakey has brought out, game mechanics and such. It has that feeling where you want to kind of slow down and take in the vista, take in the scenery, the atmosphere, and that's what this game also adds, even with its lonely, atmospheric, empty world. You're still sitting there and admiring the views, and it's very artistic in its design. It may not be for everybody, just as a Dark Souls game isn't for everybody, and maybe that's the case for you, I don't know. I don't agree with the 3.5 thing. It is more of Dark Souls 4, which ironically it has been compared to. Get away from me. I'm gonna sit at this so he resets. But I do think there are a lot of positives to the look of the game, as well as there can be some negatives. The reusing of enemies is nothing new. While I definitely agree they need to have more variety in how the bosses and such, as well as reusing them as regular enemies and such, or regular enemies as bosses, I do see it as somewhat... While there's, you can still argue that there's lore to enemies too, even the ones that are in other places brought to multiple locations. But you could say the same with Dark Souls as well, and Dark Souls has a very similar problem. Matter of fact, in some ways, I feel like it somewhat does it worse. Lost Isolate, once again, being a big part of that. As it recycles enemies, even enemies you can completely have a pathway and almost no rewards on the beating path. You can completely avoid almost every enemy. And there's just a lot of recycling of enemies in general. And yeah, it gets repetitive and boring. I understand that. And there are enough features to kind of change up the gameplay and such, from jumping to riding a horse, or summoning spirits and such, to the way you can play, the different fighting styles and such. They bring back power stancing, even though it is a little bit more limited compared to the previous games. It is still great to have. It's like they learned from a lot of their mistakes. And took a giant portion of everything they've learned and brought it to life here in this game, giving this game enough variety for people. So while it may not be a game specifically for you, or maybe you don't like it for various reasons, doesn't mean that it won't be for somebody else. And while it is definitely understandable to have your point of view, it's your opinion, understandable, it doesn't mean I ain't going to be an evil bastard and make my points on it. I want to bring up the quest lines. As I was playing on Xbox, I have discovered that there on my other playthroughs that quest lines can have multiple endings, as well as there are multiple endings to the story, the ending of the game itself. And I found that really unique, and it kind of brings me back, as well as like killing important NPCs, or just the changing of environments in the world, like Lindell City turning to ash and completely missing entire side quests and rewards that you could have gotten that playthrough. There's a lot of things that change enough, similar to a game that people love, like Morrowind, another older game with a similar aspect to it, where people love the and it's ironic that I'm in this area, as you call it, this empty area. There's actually quite a bit I am seeing, though, in this area. Even though, yes, I agree, it does have a lot of emptiness, but I feel like that's the point to what I was saying earlier, with the building of atmosphere and loneliness in general. But it has that thing as Morrowind, like there's a character that you can kill in Morrowind that completely destroys the main quest line. And it's kind of a similar aspect here, and while they have barriers for some NPCs, others not so much. Though they do have a... Oh, fuck, I hate fighting these monsters. Matter of fact, so I should probably run. I'm not going to go on. Whoops. And that... no! What am I doing? I'm a dumbass. Anyways. But I find that an interesting aspect that I do like of the Souls games. And it's kind of always been a thing, but they do give you the 3-hit, or just, like, you can tell the difference between a friendly NPC and a not-so-friendly NPC in the way they are animated. Like, most enemies are moving around or doing something, where NPCs, they do have their own individual animations, but they are mostly still and standing there, letting you know the difference between them. And they also have the talk button near them, so there's that too. My voice is slowly dying, you can probably tell. Did I talk to this guy yet? Let's talk to him just in case.
Want some more prawn, do you?
Yes, give me your prawns, you git. Anyways, I already bought that, I guess. I forgot all about what I did with this character. But whatever. Let's sell you some souls. Maybe I can level up or something. Do I need these? I'll keep them just in case. Thank you, my good sir. And I love how the characters have various different endings to their quest lines and rewards. There are even entirely missable rewards depending on what you do in the main story, like killing the fire giant or Malekith. Like, those can completely change either areas or just how stories progress in general with certain characters. There are some magnificent bosses, there's a lot of great variety to the areas, and even the enemies, while more in the design rather than the actual assets themselves sometimes. But I think there's enough here, as well as this game is still very gorgeous and unique to look at. Let me see if I can travel to another location. Okay, it looks like I have not unlocked the underground, which is weird. There's an underground area here. Maybe I can get to that, and that will help me. There's a lot of just, there's enough variety, once again, for this game, though. And I also, so the point on it's more Dark Souls 4 than 3.5. And if it is it's ironic that both George R. R. Martin, while he's not somebody you can probably take serious on this matter, saying that this is a somewhat sequel, maybe, to Dark Souls, but also the fact that it is also published by Bandai Namco and one of the first since Dark Souls 3. And I mean, what's wrong with it being Dark Souls 3? Did you know you can do things like skip Stormveil Castle entirely? I got to this area without having to do some of the bosses in Stormveil. Yes, I did Margit, but I have not or Margaret Thatcher. I have not done the other boss that is here. Is he up here? I can't remember which direction. I think that's more where the throne is up here. But still, you can go by entire areas. You can go to higher level locations and just be like, hey, you can skip this portion of the game. You have many ways you can play this game. You can return to an area if it's too hard for you or too high level. You can completely do that. You have plenty of options and variety, once again, to do what you want. I feel like this sandbox-like game gives you enough of that. Enough of how you want to play this game. And people make, like Doug makes some silly observations. Being the YouTuber that talks about, that reviews games and goes, even with food, into detail to mechanics, I would think he'd realize that the mechanic of death has more to it than just losing everything, and that's kind of a stupid thing that even Quantum TV has said, where you lose everything. You do not lose everything. You still keep all of your loot, all of your weapons, but when it comes to the souls, even those you don't lose your first time. You have another chance, no matter how many times you drop soul, you have a second chance at least, to get your souls used for leveling up your experience. Some people overlook this or don't even think about it. It's almost like somebody going into the game not knowing there is a lock-on feature. But yes, it is another similar manner. Once again, the masterpiece thing needs time, and it already has enough weight to be considered a masterpiece, and I feel like your video becomes somewhat irrelevant from the various perspectives or points of view. I'm not saying that your video is bad or isn't something that has its own interesting perspectives. It definitely does. But I do think there are aspects compared to even your other videos that I feel come off either in a somewhat objective, not objectively, but has a lot of problems, a lot of errors compared to your previous videos, where it was a lot harder to argue the points of your previous videos. I feel that the points made were very good, they were very well thought out and crafted. But I feel like that for the first time, the Elden Ring videos have enough problems in your points that I don't think they can be entirely agreed on, and they come across kind of objective, both on how you're talking about it, but also in the kind of clickbaity title of your videos, way that they come across. Also, I am challenging you to Elden Ring or Dark Souls duel, wink wink. So, think about it. Think about it, hero! I'm just kidding. I'm quoting goddamn Spider-Man. But yes, while I agree with points, I also disagree in the section of the look of the game The world itself, and various other aspects of the game, such as its quests, designs, and such. I love its quest designs way better than most. While there are some quests that are kind of dumb, there are other ones that are great. The anime boss fight thing is purely silly. I don't think that one is, as well as calling it Dark Souls 3.5, like, that's already wrong on itself, and it feels somewhat just as childish. It does not feel like a thing that somebody with the kind of imagination or even the thinking process that even like you, who has a great level of how you go into detail about things, it just feels even too simple for you to say something like that. Once again, I agree with points that you make, but this is the first video that I do think has divisive things, and I think even you somewhat mentioned this in your video, that you knew it was going to have some divisive things about it to talk about. And clearly, when somebody like me is making a video, or maybe even somebody else, who knows, or has made a video, but on somebody else having the same problem, such as Ackman on Quantum TV, then yes, some of those problems are silly or irrelevant. And I don't feel like they are big enough problems. It kind of baffles me that it's disappointing to you, too, because I feel like with the way it's changed for the better, and even the way people have on their perspective of the game. Like, the game is the biggest selling, it is got the biggest gameplay, it's games, like, it's got the biggest list of people playing it right now on Steam alone. And while it has a lot of problems that modern games are known for, it doesn't have as many problems. Especially when it comes to, say, like, season passes and stuff. We know it's going to get DLC down the line, but at least the DLC will feel big, rewarding, and worth your time. It's kind of hard to be disappointed, at least for me, maybe, and many others, by this game. I feel like it lived up to the hype. And I always love coming to a Dark Souls game, even if it recycles a lot of stuff. There's always something so interesting about their worlds that they create. With the enemies, the environments, the characters, and the story, whether using your imagination or not. I mean, alone you could look at the area where Fia hangs out after she kills D. Spoiler. How could you not look at the area and be intrigued and be like, there's no story to tell here. There's obviously environmental stories, and I feel people like Angry Joe not only don't give the game enough time or wait to tell its story for him, or just play the game for more than 6 minutes, or 10 or whatever, or past the first 2 bosses or so, to give it that time and wait. As well as he probably is very lacking in the, imagination department. But whatever. Right? Am I right? No. The dumbasses. I'm killing my voice. But I hope there were enough constructive things. I'm sorry if I repeat myself. I tend to have that problem anyways. It was fun to do the Maldron character for this. I will be doing videos. I do have things to talk about with Doug and Angry Joe, as they do have things that honestly piss me off more. But I thought there were things that were still interesting to bring up, talk about, or even, whether criticizing or not, add to them. And hopefully I added in a both respectful enough way, but also in a way that can be constructive and add more to the conversation. Or somebody can see more there, maybe. Why does this thing heal me, by the way? Okay. psych or whatever on it that heals me. Is that like a 7th flask right now? It's kind of weird. But yes, there is going to be a lot of similarities. If anything, the joking thing I would say is this is closer to being Dark Souls 4 in a joking manner, rather than calling it Dark Souls 3.5. That's kind of like taking, maybe even like, two ways. You could take Grand Theft Auto 4 and be like, oh, Grand Theft Auto 5 is just Grand Theft Auto 4.5, or saying that Saints Row 4 is just GTA 5.5. Something like that. It feels really ridiculous and silly. Especially when it's put that way. If you get what I'm trying to say. And I don't feel like those are valid enough criticisms, as well as if there is enough weight to them, or enough said about them, to leave that amount of weight in the first place. But yes, while I agree with some points, such as the engine, or yes, the graphics in places it needs some fixer-up, but it depends on both the look of the game, the style, but also that I do think genuinely that the graphics do feel somewhat next-gen. So I agree, but also don't agree, because it could have that Fallout thing. But this game doesn't nearly touch that kind of bad modern gaming. It isn't even close to games like Cyberpunk or, and I feel like the fact that you made 2 videos about it does feel like another problem. The fact that you had to make 2 videos, and yet there are still problems that people have, whether me or somebody else. I think that is enough to say something, to have its own weight. But it is always good to have people who have different perspectives, as long as they're not being an arse about it. I hope that they can find it in their heart, once again, to use their language the same way as what Actman was saying, from saying, I beep and hate the graphics, and you're an idiot, to saying, it's not for me, or I didn't like it as much, personally. Like, language. And I feel like you use that, but in some aspects, you kind of a little bit contradicted yourself in other aspects. Like, you go from saying that to saying, I'm trying to hold off on being a lot ruder or saying nastier things about this because I'm trying to be more positive. It kind of gives a different, like, feeling towards what the viewer might see your point of view on it as. And, I don't think you need to go into detail with that, but I do feel like the message is kind of all over the place, or like somebody's going to have a harder time trying to understand what you're saying, at least from a certain point of view. But anyways, I hope I added a lot to this. I hope I have enough constructive feedback to. I still feel like this game looks great. I feel like the gameplay is king. I feel like the emptiness is not a problem. I'm still having a lot of fun. I can't find it a disappointment because it did live up personally for me. The game feels huge and it is intimidating at times, but I love the design of it. It's probably going to get Game of the Year. It's also probably going to get Best Art Style, or whatever that genre of award at the Game Awards it's going to get. I don't care about the Game Awards, but I do feel like this Game Awards might somewhat be good, but still have a lot of its problems from previous ones. Just because there are games that I actually care about this time around, and I feel there are more down the line. So if you want to know, too, what my favorite games so far of this year, if you personally want to know, so far, yes, Elden Ring is my #1. I don't think it is a perfect game, but goddamn, it does a lot for me, that it hits me in just those right places, more than other games even this year. So my second place, though, so far is Kirby. I really love Kirby. I'm going to be playing it for the channel. It kind of feels like a Dark Souls, and Kirby is just the perfect game to play after a game like Elden Ring. It is perfect, because Elden Ring comes out and then Kirby, and you're like, Kirby is designed to be an easier experience, yet it does have hard stuff in it, which is pretty cool. And I really enjoyed Kirby. It was a really fun experience for me. I'm probably going to do a second playthrough. I actually played it on its hardest mode the first time around. I love its boss battles. It starts to have almost this intriguing story near the later half of it, which is weird for a Kirby game. You just don't expect it. And it's just, it was an experience. I did go into it kind of expecting more of a Super Mario Odyssey, where it's probably more linear and focused on its levels not being as semi-open and explorative as the semi-open areas of Mario Odyssey, but I don't mind that, and it is a really solid game. So, my third favorite game so far... That's a hard one. I am really divisive between these next three games. So I've been playing Lego Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, there's Pokemon, which I was surprised by Arceus, or Arceus, however you pronounce it, that it was actually pretty good. It's got its problems once again, but I am surprised that I'm liking it as much as I did. And then I am also divisive with Horizon Forbidden West. It is a great open world game, but it still does follow a lot of the trends of other open worlds. It's just it's kind of like Ghost of Tsushima good open world, where it still follows a lot of the trends, but it's still good and you enjoy it more than the first Horizon, but you still have a lot of the same gripes as the first one, but while also having the gripes of just another open world that doesn't change a whole lot. So, yeah, it just doesn't hold as much weight with you. So that's why I'm kind of divisive on these next games. I think that if I put one in third place, I might ironically put Lego Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. I've been enjoying that. I love the boss battles. It had a lot of technical issues, though, that I did get annoyed by, but I didn't feel like they hindered my progress, and most of them were funny rather than bad, or made me hate the game. There are a couple of gripes, like once I got to Last Jedi. Last Jedi was just a hard movie to try and make funny or good. Like, that movie was already doomed for me personally. So, playing it, it kinda, while the only compliment I can give it is that it was a lot shorter in experience than watching the movie, it still kind of hurt in the same vein as the movie. A lot of the jokes I kept hearing about, like how Snoke dies, wasn't as funny as people were trying to talk about it. It felt lame compared to some of the other jokes I've already seen before it, and the other Lego parts. Even Rise of Skywalker was funnier. Already had me laughing more than that part of the game. I don't know, it was just a really slow-moving part for me, and it hindered my experience a little, but it is just a little gripe. Unless you're 100%ing the game, then you're probably going to go through that part a bit more, and it will probably sour your taste a little bit more. So, just think about that if you're trying to 100%. If you don't like Last Jedi, that is. Maybe you do like it, and it is something you'll get into. Just because you like the movie, it won't feel quite as hindering. But it did for me. But I do really enjoy other aspects. I feel like this is how a Lego game should change to. It's still got a lot of the same trends as other Lego games, but it is also still very fun. Sorry if I'm just walking around talking. I should be doing things. This place is freaking dangerous, though. Honestly, maybe I should go to a different area. Maybe fight more bosses in this location here. Okay, I can take that down now. I need to go over here. There's a guy right here I can go talk to that has a castle here. But I will probably find... There's Patch's Cave. Maybe I will go up to the catacombs that is up this way. I also think there's another cave or something. I know there's this that I can do. There's still plenty of activities to do in the world, as well as to level up and get cool rewards. This game has a lot to it, and I find its weapons and such very unique, and they feel, ooh, I should go here to get this part of the map. Let's do that. Why not? I feel like there's enough going on here that I'm going to be playing for quite a while, and I am. I'm still playing this goddamn game. This is the game I put the most hours into. I'm level 216 or whatever in my Xbox version, and I'm just kind of beginning on my PlayStation now, because I bought this game twice. Sadly do not have it for the PC, but I understand your gripes if you have problems with the PC version, but I have seen most people have enjoyed it, minus the gripes, and they have been making updates and trying to get to the problems that people have been having. So, I both understand, but I think there is enough being done to a degree to have a more than welcoming experience to the game for newcomers and veterans alike. Excuse me, can I have that item, please? Thank you. Yes, grease. Quite greasy, I agree. Did I get this one? No, I did not. Let's get it now. Right. Ta-da! And let's sit at it. I do think another thing I have to mention is I hate that it has to go to black screen every time. Like, the other Souls games had a unique way of doing that. Like, a bunch of smoke clouding your view, an animation or something. I feel like they need to do that instead of the black screen. It does feel like Destiny, or Destiny 2 or whatever, when you go to talk to an NPC and it just brings you to a black screen for a moment, and then the NPC stands there, menacingly, and it's kind of boring to look at. Or just not a whole lot of effort was put there. So, it's kind of distracting when it goes to a black screen constantly. I think that's all I have to talk about. If there is more, I will bring it up either in the description, or I might think about it later and make another video, just because there were things that maybe I missed for this video. Though it would make me look like kind of an idiot when talking about the fact that he also made a part 2 video. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. It's just, it would look kind of silly or hypocritical to what I was talking about. But I did mention that if I do have more things that maybe I forgot in this video, that I would mention them here. I don't know if he quite said that. He did bring up that he did have errors, but I feel like he did talk about other things outside of those, or he didn't give those enough weight as he was talking about them. I don't know. But there were a lot of silly gripes, things that I don't feel satisfactory. I feel like there are different perspectives that people can have on the negatives he had that can look like positives for somebody else. Like, for example, I said how I see the quest lines of characters feeling like Morrowind, or the emptiness of the world having a purpose towards either taking in the vistas and exploring, or the fact that it's open world. Of course it's going to be empty, and in reality we don't always have open world, like something always going on. I mean, if you're going to drive to the mall or something or whatever, we're going to have a lot of empty space, and we have a horse for transportation, faster transportation just in real life with a car, to get through those empty spaces to get into an actual place where there's activity. So it feels somewhat believable. I don't know what he's looking in the game. That's not made entirely clear. Like, what he's looking for in the game, or, like, why he's entirely disappointed other than the points I just brought up. I don't know. It doesn't feel like there's enough there to say that it's an entire disappointment, or that it's a big enough disappointment than he's letting on, both in the subject matter and just the obvious titles of the videos alone. And that, once again, I think there are different interpretations to the word masterpiece. There are already people still calling this game a masterpiece, still talking about it, and I still think it needs that weight, as well as masterpiece is looked at different perspectives and different points of view, and even interpretations. So I both agree but disagree, and feel like the video is going to become irrelevant because of points like this. Maybe my video will also become irrelevant. Who knows? I just hope that I had enough constructive criticism, feedback, something to add, and I wouldn't doubt it if I forgot things that I wanted to add to the discussion, because I definitely think there are things I'm missing, but I thought those were the things I wanted to point out. And I'm sorry if I repeat myself. I have that problem in general, so my voice is dying doing Maldron. You can tell. God damn it. And I hope you enjoyed the video nonetheless. No hard feelings towards anybody. I love Synthetic Man. I love his content. I will still be watching it. I just thought that was the most divisive, and that I had some things to add to it of his videos. So that's it for now, though. I still love them. I'm kind of making this video as a challenge, a funny little challenge, kind of joking in the title at least, video, but at the same time I'm kind of challenging, wanting a discussion at the same time, so that maybe there's more that comes out of that to talk about. But then again, to me, I'm a nobody to him, so he probably doesn't give a damn. Damn. Shut up, Shadow. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments below. I'll see you next time on the next video and or content that I make. Or maybe I should say what Synthetic Man says. Do the thing the algorithm likes. I do not have connections with YouTube, though, so I don't give a crap about their stuff. I don't make money off of YouTube, so feck off, YouTube. Or shall I say, feck off. I'm just kidding. With an E! You know, F-E-K. I feel like I'm missing a letter. Whatever. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!